Water adapts to any shape and never loses its essence. Clay, once molded, is defined by its form, and that form can crack under pressure. Hello, and welcome back to Torches, Yoga and Mindfulness. I'm Lauren, and I'll be your coach. Have you ever been shaped by life into something that feels unrecognizable? Into something that feels like it's not you? Something that makes you feel uncomfortable in your own skin? Let's talk about the difference between calm that flows and the calm that breaks under pressure. Let's take water, for example. We don't call this cup water. We don't call this square water. We don't call this vase water. They're all still just water. The water takes on the shape of the container it's in, but it remains itself. It'll settle into a stillness, and then, when ready, when needed, it'll adapt into a new environment. And then we have clay, moldable and shapeable by external factors, changing its identity. And once shaped, it carries that role, a function, a purpose. Clay gets rigid, like these figurines. Once fired, it loses its flexibility, and calm can't flow through something that is inflexible. And with clay, having a specific function and a singular purpose to serve, if it no longer serves that purpose, or maybe it's deemed broken in remains and pieces, unrecognizable. When it cracks under pressure and breaks, after that it's generally discarded. We do this too. We take one moment, one expectation, one relationship, and we mold ourselves around it. We forget we are not the shape. We are the essence. Sometimes who we think we are gets fused with what we've lived through. Maybe we were praised for being the achiever, for being the peacemaker, the quiet one, or the strong one. Maybe we were dismissed for being the bad egg and the maverick of the family. And slowly, we began to think that that's all we are. Maybe we were shaped by pain, rejection, pressure, or silence. And that experience becomes a mold. We either try to fit into it or escape out of it, but either way, we carry it. For a long time, I thought I needed to fight for love and acceptance of my family and my place in my family, that I was just supposed to be who they needed me to be. So I shrunk myself to fit into someone else's idea of who I should be, as if my only purpose was to validate somebody else's life. But always performing like this was exhausting, and I didn't last long before I broke. And for me, it showed up as self-sabotage in subtle and not so subtle ways. That's the thing about clay. It holds its form or it cracks. But water flows. It flows. It doesn't have to prove it belongs. It just is. And friend, we don't need to hold a shape to be loved or accepted, whole or fulfilled. Our calm doesn't live in the container or the form or the situation. It lives in our essence. But I'm your coach, and I'm not just here to bring you this thought to consider. Awareness is just the first step, and once we recognize the shape we have taken on, we can begin to gently loosen its hold on us. Not to fix ourselves, but just to return to who we really are beneath the form. So let's take a few moments now to return back to our essence with a simple practice. This is something you can take a few moments to consider now, or if you can, set aside some time later to sit down with a journal as you work through this practice. To start, let's just take a nice deep breath. Let the oxygen and that air fill your being. And with a long, slow, steady exhale, ask yourself, what shape have I taken on that no longer really feels like me? Maybe it's a quiet belief within you that tells you your needs are too much or that they should come last, or a voice telling you that softness makes you weak. Maybe you feel like you have to earn love by overperforming, over-caretaking, over-giving, or just being endlessly agreeable. These aren't always loud, conscious thoughts we have. Sometimes these beliefs live quietly in our posture, the way we slump, They live quietly in our yes every time we'd rather be saying no. So we ask ourselves, what shape have I taken on that is no longer me? And just notice with compassionate curiosity, this isn't about blame. This is beginning to remember ourselves, who we really are underneath the everyday life. Then ask yourself, where in my life do I believe that I have to be someone other than me to be loved, safe, and accepted? And write out whatever comes up for you during this practice. Journaling reflections like this is so powerful. When we bring our reflections like this to our journal, we activate our prefrontal cortex, the area of our brain responsible for decision making. And this activity also calms down the amygdala. That's our fear center, our emotion response. So writing it out actually helps keep us on track during the practice for positive reflection and growth, as opposed to spiraling out with intrusive thoughts that might try to creep in like ants at a picnic. And it gives our default mode network positive direction. Our default mode network is where we spend our time in autopilot and comparison and ruminating. But exercises like these strengthen our neural pathways that are associated with resilience and adaptive thinking. So you don't have to write it out, but as your friend, I would tell you, if you're not, you're missing out. And lastly, friend, before you put your journal away, ask yourself, what would change if I allowed this belief of who I should be, if I allowed it to just soften just for one day? What would that look like? Maybe we stop neglecting our own rest or apologizing for needing it. Maybe we would speak our truth, even if our voice shakes. Maybe we would pause before saying yes and stop chasing perfection. Maybe we would finally allow ourselves to be soft and see that nothing is broken. Letting go of a limiting belief like this doesn't mean that we're erasing or forgetting our past. It just means that we're making space for something that's a little bit more true. This is the kind of gentle inner work that doesn't just shift our mood. It begins to reset and rewire our nervous system. And if you've ever wondered if it's even possible to change old ways and old patterns, friend, let me tell you, your brain is literally built to do just that. Through neuroplasticity, we now know that our brains are not fixed. They are constantly changing and adapting and rewiring based on what we give our attention to. Every mindful breath, every pause, every time we notice instead of judge, we return. And with each return, our inner world shifts. Maybe the next wave of anxiety doesn't crash so hard. Maybe grief still visits, but it's just for a moment instead of the whole day. Maybe that spiral of overthinking or lost time doesn't pull you down like it used to. It just brushes past. Not because we've forced anything to change, simply because we've practiced presence time and time again. Because we've returned, and each return is a message to our nervous system telling it we're safe to be, we're safe to rest, and safe to soften. This is the work I support in my one-on-one coaching, helping you to untangle what you've taken on so we can unravel all that and you feel free to become you again. Not a new you, just more of you. Friend, if any of this speaks to you, I would be honored to walk with you on this part of your journey. I will have my email and the journal prompt questions listed down in the description of the video. So friend, please feel free to reach out if you would like a coach with you, someone there to help keep you on track during this discovery phase. And remember, you don't have to answer all these questions in one sitting. Save this video and come back to it every few days over a week or so. I'll leave you with this one final thought, friend. Water is soft. Water is gentle. Water is a force to be reckoned with. Whether it's carving through mountains or devastating cities, water flows wherever it wishes. Thank you so much for sharing a piece of your day with me, friend. Stay present, stay kind to yourself, and I will see you soon.